In these 30 years of history, the franchise has presented us with many Power Rangers, but there are some that have stood out for some details, and because of this, they have managed to change history forever. These details are not only things that have been achieved in the history of the series, but also in the history of the franchise because they have achieved a change in the fans. I want to start with the best known of all, and obviously, Tommy Oliver, which remains the most famous Ranger in the history of Power Rangers. This character was the first evil Ranger, and so far, he is the longest continuously leading Ranger. His leadership began as the White Ranger in the second season of Mighty Morphin and ended in episode number 19 of the Turbo season, which gives us a total of 138 episodes. Obviously, this is not counting the 10 episodes of Alien Rangers, since that season is considered part of Season 3 and is named as a mini-series within the original series. Another record that this character has is that he has appeared in 8 different seasons and is the Ranger who has appeared in the most episodes, surpassing 235 episodes. Besides this, he is also the Ranger with more color changes, since he has used green, white, red twice, and black, which was his last color. He has been the first in several things, such as being the first Ranger to become a mentor, the first Green Ranger, the first White Ranger, the first Ranger to use red in 2 different teams, and the first leader of a team that was not red, although later he started to use it. All these records are incredible, but the best thing that Tommy Oliver has is the confidence that he provokes in people, since everyone wants to follow him, and because of this, he has become the legendary Ranger. The next Ranger in this list is Kendrix Morgan, the Pink Ranger from Power Rangers Lost Galaxy, and the Ranger who gave her life to save everyone. All Rangers risk their lives constantly, but Kendrix decided to sacrifice herself in order to save everyone, and this is one of the most impressive things a Ranger has done in the entire history of the franchise. This character is so important that Hasbro recently released his new action figure, even though Lost Galaxy products are not the best sellers. Many mention Kendrix in their list as one of the favorite Rangers, and her personality won the hearts of fans. After the death of this Ranger, the story changed so much that the power was given to Coroni, who was a villain and is also Andra's sister. Speaking of Andress, this Ranger is next on the list and was the Red Ranger of the In Space season. This Ranger made history because of his bravery, his leadership, and all his Ranger skills. Obviously, what made this Ranger change history was the destruction of Zordon, because even though it seems like an easy thing to do, it really isn't, since Zordon has always been like a father to all the Rangers, and this was basically like having to destroy a beloved family member. All of us fans know about this event, and it has marked a before and after in the history of the franchise. Even in the last season they mentioned this event, since Zordon's shockwave has been something that marked the life of the whole universe, including the villains. Even though Zordon is the protagonist of this event, that would not have been achieved without Andress, since he was the one who had the courage to break the tube and save the universe. Andress' influence on Power Rangers fans is so great that we can say that he may be one of the most famous Red Rangers in history, and his weapon is one of the most loved by fans. The next Ranger is Amelia, the first Red Ranger to be for a full season, and we must emphasize this as many fans still do not understand this concept. There have been other leading female Rangers for a full season, but none are red. We have also had red female Rangers who have also been leaders, but not for a full season. So, Amelia has been the first female Ranger to be a leader for a full season using the color red. I hope you have understood this and are not writing the wrong things in the comments. We should give credit to this Ranger, as she started out as the first Pink Ranger we saw in her season and ended up being a Red Ranger leading her team. Opinions are divided, but I loved Amelia's participation as a Red Ranger, and I think she did an excellent job delivering blows with that hammer. The next Ranger belongs to that same Dino Fury team, and we can't leave out Zaido, the first Ranger with that color that no one can decide the name. This Ranger is possibly the first Ranger in the history of the Power Rangers universe, since for now, no one knows if the Rangers started before this event when the Morphin Masters gave the power to Zaido and his team. This also makes him the first Red Ranger and team leader in the entire history of the Power Rangers timeline. Let's remember that I'm not talking about our actual timeline, since obviously the first Ranger we saw in 1993 was Jason, but I'm talking about the Power Rangers universe timeline. Another impressive thing that Zaido did is that he is the only Ranger in history to become a Morphin Master, and so far, no one knows how it happened, but it is suspected that it was thanks to Zordon. Next on the list is Billy, the Blue Ranger from Mighty Morphin, who also appeared in Cosmic Fury as the mentor of that team. This Ranger is so well known that we don't have to dwell too much on his story, but we can say that he has achieved such a great impact that this power has reached outside the TV series. The actor who plays this character has been so important that he got them to create the special episode, and even though they did not want to use the script he had written, we all know that the whole episode was thanks to his idea. Billy is the second Ranger with more appearances in episodes, surpassing 200 episodes, and he was the only Ranger of the original team that was in the whole Mighty Morphin series. The last Ranger on this list is Justin, the Blue Ranger from Power Rangers Turbo, and I apologize for not showing his picture as a child, since YouTube changes all the video settings when children appear. The reality is that this Ranger started in the Turbo movie to replace Rocky, who had hurt his back and could no longer help his team. In the series, this event is not so important, even though it was rare, but outside of the series it was awesome for the fans. Some loved this decision to turn a kid into a Ranger, and others hated it as they say it is something absurd. The production said at the time that they wanted a child to become a Power Ranger so that the child audience would feel that they could be a Ranger and feel more connected to the series. Obviously, this didn't work out for them because Turbo has been one of the most hated series by many fans, but I don't think Justin's was the reason for this. Red Rangers have almost always been the leaders of the various Power Rangers teams, and many have natural leadership and superior skills, as taking control of a team takes a lot more than just calling the Megazord. This list is based on my opinion, as each of us feels a different approach to each Ranger, so leave in the comments your favorite Red Rangers. Number 10, Cole Evans from Power Rangers Wild Force. Although Cole initially had a hard time adapting to the modern world because he was raised in the wilderness by a tribe, he still had the ability to adapt and learn what he needed to be a great leader. Because he was raised in the middle of nature, he developed a natural ability. He had great agility and very good reflexes. Despite having lived such a hard life without his parents, that didn't stop him from excelling and becoming a Red Ranger by nature. We must remember that Cole was the one who destroyed Serpentera, Lord Zeed's giant Zord, in the Forever Red episode. Number 9, Shane Clark from Power Rangers Ninja Storm. This Ranger stands out as an exceptional leader due to his bravery, determination, and sense of responsibility, as he was always willing to sacrifice himself for his team. Even though he started off a bit carefree, he gradually matured and became one of the best leaders we've seen. His mastery of the wind element was flawless, and this helped him to wield the Batlaser, which is something not all Rangers have accomplished. Shane was a key player in defeating all the villains and also in defending the Academy. One of the most important aspects of this Ranger is that he always inspired the other Rangers, and that is one of the best qualities a leader can have. Number 8, Amelia, the Red Ranger of Cosmic Fury, who was also the Pink Ranger in Dino Fury. This Ranger had one of the best growth arcs in all of Power Rangers history, as she was originally chosen as the Pink Ranger and later became the Red Ranger to lead the team. Her mastery of her hammer is incredible, and I consider it to be one of the best weapons out there. The best thing about this Ranger is that she faced one of the most challenging moments in the history of all Ranger teams, and despite this, she knew how to make the right decisions. The situation I'm referring to is when Lord Zed managed to imprison all the Rangers except for the Cosmic Fury team, and even though Billy, who is considered the smartest Ranger, gave her several pieces of advice on what she should do, Amelia chose to follow her instincts. This led her to success in her mission, and that's what true leaders do, they follow their instincts, no matter what others think. Number 7, Leo Corbett from Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. This Ranger went from being an impulsive young man to becoming a mature leader who prioritized the safety of others over his own. Due to this great commitment, he was always willing to sacrifice his life to save others whenever necessary. Even though the power of the Red Ranger seemed destined for his brother, Leo accepted this responsibility and bravely defeated all the villains. His legacy as the Red Ranger is one of heroism, leadership, and sacrifice, solidifying him as one of the best Rangers in history. Number 6, Carter Grayson from Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue. While Lightspeed Rescue is not one of my favorite series, I have to say that Carter deserves to be on this list. Carter has the attitude of a classic superhero who will do anything to save a life. He is able to break the rules and even risk his own life to save others. He has a noble soul and is a great firefighter with passion. One of the things we should point out about Carter is that, despite being a noble man, he is also a very strict leader, and that is why everyone respects his leadership. Part of being a leader is knowing how to recruit, as you must have the ability to see the talent in other people and recognize who can be that person you need. This was demonstrated when Carter is the one who starts recruiting all the Red Rangers for the Forever Red battle. Number 5, Zyto from Power Rangers Dino Fury. According to the Power Rangers universe timeline, we understand that Zyto may have been the first Ranger on Earth, even though he comes from another planet. Remember that the Morphin Masters gave him the power on Earth when only dinosaurs existed, so this possibly makes him the first Red Ranger. Another important thing is that he is the only Ranger to become a Morphin Master, which speaks volumes about his commitment to the Ranger mission. Zyto made one of the greatest sacrifices by losing his life to save Earth, even though it's not his home planet. We never saw this leader be corrupted by evil, and he was always a person with a pure heart. Number 4, Tommy Oliver from Power Rangers Zeo and Turbo. Although he may not have been the best Red Ranger, he remains a legendary Ranger, having held the position of Red Ranger leader twice on 2 different teams, something only he has accomplished. First, in Power Rangers Zeo, he had his first opportunity as the Red Ranger, proving he could lead the team with the great power of the Zeo Crystal, and then he had another opportunity as the Red Ranger in Power Rangers Turbo. In this role, he didn't stay for the entire season and had to pass on his power, but during the short time he was there, he proved he was still an excellent Red Ranger. The reason Tommy isn't ranked higher on this list is that his time as the Red Ranger wasn't his most memorable role, as Tommy is more famously remembered as the Green Ranger and the White Ranger, and even more so as the Black Ranger in Dino Thunder. Number 3, Wes Collins from Power Rangers Time Force. He is one of the most incredible Rangers in history, and almost all fans have him as one of their top picks. This is because, despite not being the official leader of his team, Since the leader was the Pink Ranger, Wes was always a natural leader who shone at any moment. Initially, Wes was a privileged young man living under his father's shadow, but his encounter with the Time Force team transformed him into a brave and determined leader. At the most crucial moment, Wes took on the responsibility of protecting his time and sacrificed his personal future for the greater good. In summary, Wes is an outstanding Red Ranger due to his growth, leadership, and the lasting impact he left on his team. Number 2, Andrus from Power Rangers in Space. This Ranger faced incredibly powerful villains like the Psycho Rangers, Dark Spectre, and Astronema. Andrus had the toughest mission in history, sacrificing Zordon to save an entire galaxy. Although this mission might seem straightforward, it is actually the most challenging because it involves taking the life of your mentor by his own orders. It's an internal battle that is very difficult to decipher. Andrus only had seconds to make this decision and live with the consequences for the rest of his life. It is known that for all Power Rangers, Zordon was like a father, making this mission almost impossible. This makes Andrus one of the greatest leaders in history, as he made one of the most difficult decisions to save everyone else, even if it meant taking the life of someone very important. Such decisions are only made by true leaders. Number 1, Jason from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Many will agree that the top spot should always be Jason, the first Red Ranger and the leader of leaders. For those who have watched Power Rangers since the 1995 seasons and beyond, I encourage you to watch the episodes of the original Rangers, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and you'll see a great leader. Jason's leadership was so impactful that he played a crucial role in the franchise's success from the beginning, unlike many other series that took a long time to gain traction. From the first day you saw Jason on screen, almost every kid wanted to be the Red Ranger, and that was solely due to Jason's tremendous influence. Despite Tommy Oliver being a legendary Ranger, he sought Jason's advice on leadership. The mark Jason has left is so impressive that even though he was only in 2 seasons of Power Rangers 29 years ago, he remains the most influential Power Ranger of all time. In the Power Rangers franchise, there are many special Rangers and there are others that are just very different from the rest. This is not going to be a top, this is going to be a list of the Rangers that I find most out of the ordinary, and I am going to include them because of their costume, colors, specialties, powers, weapons, or something else that makes them different from the other Rangers. We know that this list could be very long, and that's why I'm only going to choose 10 Rangers, and I want you to write in the comments the Rangers that you think should be in this list. Remember that, since this is not a top list, it won't matter the position in which I name each Ranger since this is not going to have a specific order. Number 1, the Omega Ranger from SPD. This Ranger comes from the future and already this makes him very different from the vast majority of Rangers in the entire franchise. In addition to this, he possesses incredible abilities, such as super speed. The history of this Ranger is very deep and his arrival in SPD made a big change in that season. This Ranger's costume stands out very well and is considered as a 6th Ranger officially. Although we have had the Omega Rangers from the comics, the reality is that the first Omega Ranger in the franchise is this one from SPD. Number 2, the Shadow Ranger from SPD. If we are going to talk about this season, then we can't leave out of this list the Shadow Ranger, which has become one of the most famous Rangers in the franchise. This Ranger is so different from the others that he belongs to another planet and physically looks like a dog. This is something quite rare and even difficult to explain to other people who are not Power Rangers fans. In addition to this, he is the mentor of the Rangers, and his costume is one of the most original Power Rangers costumes. Number 3, Tommy Oliver as the White Ranger in Mighty Morphin and the Black Ranger in Dino Thunder. We all know that Tommy has always been a very special ranger, but the reality is that his White Ranger and Black Ranger versions are the most special versions he has. Maybe Tommy is better known for his Green Ranger version, but I think he is more special in the two versions I already mentioned. As a White Ranger we could see many new moves, and he also uses one of the most special weapons of the whole franchise, Saban, a living sword that has a great power. In the Black Ranger version of Dino Thunder something very similar happened. The new powers he got were spectacular and his new abilities left everyone impressed. Besides this, we must accept that Dino Thunder's costume is one of the best in history and his weapon is too. Number 4, Zaido in his version of Zenith Ranger in Cosmic Fury. We all know that Zaido is a very special ranger because of everything he accomplished, and at the end of his story he became a Morphin master, something no other ranger could achieve. Despite this, the version that made Zaido become a very outstanding ranger was when he became the Zenith Ranger. We must remember that this happened since he used the white suit, so we must talk about that suit and the other strange color he later used since it is the same type of ranger. Zaido's participation as Zenith Ranger was very remarkable since he used a different power and could control the staff of the Morphin Masters, so this is already something quite impressive. Number 5, the Phantom Ranger from Power Rangers Turbo. Although in the TV series we did not have so much information about this ranger, in the comics we were able to learn more about his story, and we must say that it is one of the most impacting stories that a ranger has ever had. The knowledge that this ranger has of the grid is impressive, and everything he has been able to achieve in his life is very important. He has a rather strange costume, but one that at the same time is very different from any other Power Rangers costume. Despite all these things, the most remarkable thing about the Phantom Ranger is that his body is made of pure grid energy, something that makes him very different from all the other Rangers in the story. Number 6, Magna Defender from Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. I think we are all going to have this ranger on every list of special or noteworthy rangers, and he has everything it takes to stand out in any team. This is one of the strangest rangers, and this includes his costume, his abilities, his personality, and his weapon. We know that this ranger's power was used by two people, but I think both versions are still just as special. The style of this ranger is what gets him on this list, as it is what makes him so different and original. Number 7, Solaris Knight from Power Rangers Mystic Force. This ranger wears one of my favorite costumes and also has one of my favorite powers. What I like the most about this ranger is that he can be in any team, and he will always stand out because he is so different and original. This ranger is so special that even though he has a human appearance, he is an ancient mystic warrior, a master, and he is also the 6th ranger of the team. This ranger is possibly one of the most complete rangers of the entire franchise and one of the best rangers of all time. Despite all these virtues, I think the writers could have made better use of his power, since the sun is not a simple energy, and I think they could have made him more powerful. Number 8, the Wolf Warrior from Power Rangers Mystic Force. If we are talking about rangers that stand out, then we can't leave out of this list the Wolf Warrior from the Mystic Force. This ranger is so awesome that he managed to stand out as a hero, but he also stood out a lot as a villain. To be honest, one of the things I like the most about this ranger is his style and his costume, because despite using the wolf as his animal, in reality his theme is that of a medieval knight. Obviously we could notice this in his version as a villain, since even his name said it, but when he became one of the good guys, then he was no longer named as a knight, but his style was still the same. Number 9, Robo Knight from Power Rangers Megaforce. This ranger is one of the few robots that have become a ranger and is one of the most special in this category. Despite being a robot, he managed to understand human emotions and also made several sacrifices to save others. Besides this, we must admit that his appearance is spectacular, and he is one of the best robots in existence. This Ranger is so special that despite being a robot he managed to become a sixth Ranger, something that to achieve it he must be a very different Ranger from the rest of the team. Something that makes him stand out is his great memory. Since he was built several centuries ago, he has memory of everything that has happened during all that time, and this makes him very different from everyone else. Number 10, Hunter and Blake from Power Rangers Ninja Storm. I must admit that one of the things that made me put these two Rangers on this list were their very unique and original costumes. It is for this very reason that I put them together on this list, as they both have very similar costumes, and their colors are unique. In Hunter's case, the color of his costume is very different, and there is only one other Ranger with a costume that has a similar color, Blaze from Beast Morphers, but he is a villain. In Blake's case, he is the only Ranger in the entire franchise to use that dark blue color, and although there are many Blue Rangers, none use a blue as dark as that. His costumes are so outstanding that some artists have created modern illustrations with these same costumes, and we can notice how impressive they look. Let's start with the Rhino Blade from Power Rangers Jungle Fury. The important and amazing thing about this weapon is that it is also a morpher. It starts from a simple wooden bracelet and then becomes a morpher and transforms the person into the Rhino Ranger. This powerful weapon is a combination of morpher, blaster, and sword with which you transform, fight long distance, and melee. The Rhino Blade has destroyed entire platoons with just a few small missiles coming from the fingers. In its sword form, it can be used in various ways, such as spinning and turning the Ranger into a living circular lock to give several quick cuts and finish off with a powerful final cut. Black Ranger Power Axe from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. This weapon, besides having a very sharp and powerful cutting blade, can also be used as a power cannon. The power of this axe is so great that it is the initial and main weapon in the Mighty Morphin Power Cannon. Its energy is of such magnitude that it can wipe out entire battalions, and as the main source of energy in the power cannon. We could say that it has also wiped out many monsters with just a little help from the other weapons. The Fire Smasher from Power Rangers Samurai. A sword that starts out normal sized and turns into a giant sword with incredible power. It can cut through anything, as its cut comes not only from the razor's edge, but from the power. Its cut is so wide that with one move it can cut a whole battalion in half. In addition to this, it turns into a cannon with the discs of the other Samurai Rangers cutting through any enemy that gets in the way. Another way it can be used is with an additional disc to get two Fire Smashers and create a sword party and cut enemies into several pieces. There are powerful blasters, but the Quantum Defender from Power Rangers Time Force is one of the most powerful. This powerful blaster can blast almost anything with such an impressive speed that it won't give the enemy time to react. In addition to this, it is not only a blaster, but it also turns into a powerful long sword that will cut enemies in half. The best thing about this weapon is its size and portability. Being so small, it is easy to carry and can always accompany the Ranger and be ready in less than a second. Another powerful weapon is the Magna Blaster, or also known as the Magna Sword from Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. This sword is not just any sword, starting with its great power and impressive cuts, this great sword transforms into a machine gun-style blaster that with a single reload shoots several times with just one pull of the trigger to annihilate one or more enemies at the same time. When taken out of its scabbard or case, it is a powerful sword, but while in its scabbard or case the handle is bent to transform it into a very powerful blaster. If we talk about different powers, we must talk about the snow staff in Power Rangers Mystic Force. This long stick formed by a snowflake on the tip had the power to freeze the opponents. After they were frozen, you could do whatever you wanted with them. Although it may not seem extremely powerful, it really is, because being able to neutralize your enemy and then do whatever you want is the best advantage anyone can have over their opponent. We are used to a weapon being just a sword or a blaster, but we also have Rick from Power Rangers SPD. This robotic canine becomes a blaster that destroys everything in its path, in addition to many other utilities that he had in his first update. When the second update was made, he could connect with the Red Ranger's armor, proving that the dog is still man's best friend. If we talk about powerful swords, we must talk about the Dragon Dagger in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. This is the dagger that the Green Ranger used and then passed to the Red Ranger. It has several functions and such great power that it provides additional protection to the Green Ranger's shield, even protecting him from powerful weapon beams like the Red Ranger's sword. In addition to that, it can also launch energy rays working as a melee attack because of its size, but its main function is that the one who has this dagger can control the Dragon Zord, since this dagger becomes a flute that when touched communicates with the dragon, allowing it to destroy large enemies from any position. The next weapon is the Gold ZEO Staff, the power staff of the Golden Ranger in Power Rangers ZEO. Its power is so overwhelming that humans cannot use it, and only Jason the Red Ranger could use it for a while, because when you get this weapon you also get the transformation and powers of the Golden Ranger. This weapon is created only for beings from the planet Triforia and can collect energy and then throw it with great power to kill their enemies. The staff also can summon the Great Golden Pyramid, and as we talked about at the beginning, it can pass the powers of the Golden Ranger to anyone who can withstand these powers. So, let's talk about the most powerful weapon of all, Saban from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Saban used by the White Ranger was a sword that had the head of a white tiger. The most impressive thing about this sword is that it had a life of its own, and that's why at first Tommy and Saban had some problems, but then they formed a great team. Saban not only functioned as a melee sword, but also launched laser beams from his eyes and could do it on his own to protect the Rangers. In addition, it controlled the White Tiger Zord, which was the Zord of the White Ranger. The most amazing thing is that he was not only a common weapon for any battle, he was also a mentor who gave Tommy advice and can arrive at any time to save the situation. Tell me which is your favorite weapon, like this video and subscribe to this channel for more Power Rangers content.